Hi there. Morning, everybody, for a surprise live on my public page, which I haven't done in a while. I wanted to talk about this Gillette ad that's been out, and I will get to that. I want to talk about what was good about it, what was bad about it, and why I have an opinion about it at all. And then to really kind of hone in on what's the real issue here and how can we address it together. So anyhow, sorry for the appearance. I just came in from a run and deal with it. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Fawn, and I've been living out this past couple years my life transformed. And by that, I mean claiming God's intended design for me and walking out his call on my life. So today I exist to put an end to childhood sexual abuse and to provide hope to women who have suffered it. And so it goes without saying that the Gillette ad, I had a little bit of a roller coaster response to. Now, I put a post out yesterday publicly and in this group, asking people what keeps them up at night. I've learned that sometimes you can find your calling in that, your purpose in that thing that just you can't sleep over. Well, when I was asked that a few years ago, I knew it had to do with sexual violence and specifically childhood sexual abuse. But in that time that I was being asked that, I only knew that conceptually, because the thing that was keeping me up at night was my work, right? My job, the conflicts that were happening there. Somebody else's mess basically was keeping me up at night. I was giving myself away to other people's missions and losing sleep over it and losing my health and my family over it. And so I stepped away almost 2 years ago now and into what I believe I've been called to. And it's now keeping me up at night, and rightfully so, because it's the thing that I'm supposed to be giving my life to. And so that Gillette ad came out last week. I'm sure everybody saw it. It's all over the internet. It's causing a huge conflict, and it's causing division between men and men and men and women. Some men like it, some hate it. Some people are boycotting Gillette, and others are going out and buying it up aggressively. So I want to talk about that because it just happens to be that thing that woke me up at 3 o'clock in the morning 2 nights ago. And first, before I tell you why it woke me up and before I come to a common ground and solution, I want you to hang out with me for a minute as I just go through the roller coaster of thoughts and processing and emotions I had to it, so you know the perspective I'm coming from, because I agree with both sides and I disagree with both sides of the argument. So I just want to take you through how I processed those thoughts and feelings. Okay, so my first impression when I watched that ad was I was super excited about it. I was actually tagged in it by another woman who knows that this is my cause and my passion, and she knows that I understand that there's a culture that's influencing this abuse to children and women, and that's important for me to address. So she tagged me in and I watched it, and the thing that stuck out to me was that, good morning, Alexandra. How are you? I miss you, Alex. I'm talking about the Gillette ad. So, and the thing that stood out to me when I was first watching it is that they were really focusing on this this terminology that we like to use in our culture, and nobody can deny that we like to use it. Boys will be boys, right? Boys will be boys. And that's just kind of this masked accepted statement that people make. And so when my heart leapt watching that video, in ways that some men would take offensively, when my heart leapt, it was because I, as a mother, have taken the responsibility to raise my boys to think better than that of themselves, to not excuse away behavior that can harm others just because they're boys. And not saying that men are bad and women are good, but just that was my responsibility as a mother to counteract what I knew to be true about our culture. And that's the perspective I want to share for a second, because those of you who don't know me won't understand that I'm coming at this, yes, as a woman, okay? But secondly, as a woman that as a child was sexually abused for many, many years by multiple abusers. I was drugged and raped as an adult by my peers, and I was abducted by a truck driver in my adulthood that I know now, looking back, had all the makings of being solicited into the human trafficking world. And gratefully I got away from that, but that could have been just yet another chapter of my life. So I am acutely aware of a culture that suppresses women and children in a way that is horrifying and in a way that hurts them for a very long time. And so that's why when I first watched it, my heart leapt. I had hope. I thought, oh my goodness. Hi, Danny. I thought, oh my goodness, here's the cultural shift happening in our world that's saying, hey people, hey adults, men or women, let's stand up and make a change for the better. But then unfortunately I read the comments, and there are a lot of upset men over that ad. And I don't want you to think that I take that lightly, because I don't. I am the wife and a mother to 3 wonderful men. I'm the wife to 1 and the mother to 2. And they're wonderful men. And I'm also acutely aware of what a broad brush painted against their character can do to them, and how they're just by default, genetically speaking, carrying the burdens of everything wrong that ever happened in the world. They are taking full responsibility simply because of their skin color and their gender. And I get that has been done to other cultural groups, and that wasn't okay. But I don't agree that it becomes okay when it's done to another. So it's just never okay. And as a mother, I have to battle that. And I would never want my boys to see an ad like that and feel like it was the world telling them that they're bad and that they're evil. And so I get that. And so where I think that Gillette was successful was that they generated conversation, about a very real issue in our culture that needs to be addressed. Where I think that they failed is that they introduced conflict and division between men and women, and that shouldn't happen. Because what I'm going to tell you is that we do have a real cultural issue. I'm going to tell you why it woke me up at night, because I've been exposed to this cultural issue in a professional way also, and what we can do about it together, men and women, because it's not just the men's responsibility. I've taken the responsibility as a woman to help make these cultural shifts, and just not to believe what the culture says about me as a woman if it's negative, right? And I don't put that burden on men, but together we do have to change this issue. And if we can't do that walking together, then it can't be done. So this is what I'm going to say. There is a real issue. There is real sexual abuse happening to women and children. My call is to children. That's what I'm focusing on here. And I believe that if we really stop sexually abusing little boys and little girls, that our men and women will grow up to be better people. I think that it will decrease a lot of all of the stuff that we're dealing with, okay? So just so you know, that what woke me up in the middle of the night was this memory of common phrases and culturally accepted things that were believed in the marketing industry. And this is to Gillette's defense, because if I experienced it in my small marketing experiences, they have experienced it in their top dog marketing experiences that they have. But there are 2 statements that kept coming to me as I was trying to sleep. 3 a.m. in the morning, I woke up and I thought, oh my goodness, how did I ever roll along with statements like this, knowing what culturally was done to me as a woman and a child in life, right? And one of them is sex sells. And if you've never heard that statement, you are living under a rock. Sex sells. Watch your commercials. And by the way, women, sex sells to you too. So if you don't want to support it, don't support it in ways that benefit you, okay? Don't support it at all. Sex sells. And the other thing that moving into the nonprofit industry, when we didn't say things like that anymore because we were far more humble and serving, is we said, oh, people don't like to give to this cause because it's not sexy. Like, we had this understanding that you had to sell a pretty package to get people to buy something. And that when we say things like that, it's totally acceptable in the marketing industry. So for a giant like Gillette to stand up and say, whoa, we're culturally corrupt, that's not okay, let's change those tides, was actually quite heroic, even though they may have done it in a way that made men only responsible, which, by the way, if you go back and look at their tagline, that's the only reason why they included men only, and women should be included in that discussion as well. The the sexual, what's it called? Trafficking industry makes up only 19% of all the human trafficking industry. So why do we talk so much about that little 19% of sex trafficking? Because that doesn't sound like a lot, right? Do we really have a big problem here? I mean, yeah, because sex sells. Let me tell you, 19% of the total human trafficking industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, that 19% generates 66% of the total income coming through human trafficking because sex sells. Literally, sex sells. So if you want to support it because it's manly or because it makes us feel good about buying our bras and underwear, women, if you want to support it at this level and you think it's harmless, it's not. It's not. You can't let sex sell and then get mad that it's selling, okay? And a lot of those are children. But now I want to tell you, I'm totally against human trafficking, but my cause is really focused on domestic childhood abuse. And I'll tell you why. Because 90% of the children being rescued from human trafficking were abused in their homes before they even went there. They experienced domestic childhood abuse that 90% of children who were sexually abused outside of human trafficking were abused by somebody they know. It's happening by uncles and cousins and neighbors and teachers and pastors and are sexually abusing children because don't we all like a good deal? I mean, I shop at Goodwill. And I'm not trying to say it in a way that disgusts people, but yeah, I kind of am trying to disgust you because sex sells, but we all want a good deal, right? So this is happening and it's destroying our culture. And yet we sit up here in our shiny little offices and we say things like sex sells and we go out and sell sex and then we get mad that somebody calls us to the carpet and tells us to stop behaving that way, that challenges us to be better human beings, whether it's men or women, that they tell us that the way that we're living culturally is wrong and we need to change it, and we get all mad and up in arms about it, and then we let it divide us, and then really what we're doing is we're giving ourselves excuses not to change at all, to continue letting children be victims, to continue letting women be sexually assaulted because they're weaker, because sex sells. So don't get all angry that maybe something in your character that's adjusted to our culture is being challenged. Don't get angry about that. Get angry about the fact that we were all raised up in a culture that perpetuates this behavior. Every one of us is victim to it. Men and women, children and adults, we're all victim to that socialization, that stuff that's made it up into the shiny offices and marketed and sold to us. But we all can vote with our dollars, and we can all stop supporting that concept, and we can all start protecting our kids, and we can all start stepping into a place where we are okay talking about it so that we can learn about it, so that we can protect them, so we can put an end to it. Okay, so this is our time to link arms. And the way that we're going to do this is just that, right? Stop letting things divide us when there are real topics and issues to discuss. Stop pretending like this isn't happening. It's hugely prevalent. It's really happening, okay? Whether it is a bruise to your ego or not, it's really happening. It is. And we need to come together on it. And one of the ways is to start listening to it and start educating yourself. And so what I'm vowing to do, because this is my fundraising training, right? What's the issue? The issue is that it's happening. The issue is that it's a fact, that we live in a culture that needs to be challenged and changed so that it can stop happening. It's not the man's fault. It's not the woman's fault. It's not the white man's fault. That's not what it is. It's every single person's responsibility. If you are not making a vow to stop and put an end to childhood sexual violence, then you're part of the problem. The end. That's it. That's the problem. That it's a huge issue, okay? And that nobody's really doing anything about it. At best, we're telling kids to tell us after it happens, okay? It's going to happen, so when it does, tell us. That's not prevention. The way we're going to stop it is by preventing it. To have true prevention. I have vowed myself to a current task force that's going to start bringing true prevention into churches first, and then we're moving out from there. So I'm doing something like that, and I'm just asking that you guys will support that. The other thing I'm vowing to do is to come to you guys consistently, probably on YouTube, maybe here live. I don't know which I'll do first. So subscribe to this page so you get notifications, and subscribe to YouTube. And what I want to do is keep much shorter than this videos that sort of debunk things that people believe and empower parents to actually protect their children. Here's the thing. If you like, because it's a lot easier to like, causes that stop human trafficking, and you should. They're great causes, and I support them also. If that's the one you like because it's glossy and pretty, but it makes up the smallest percentage of childhood abuse, I want to challenge you to understand this. And I already told you, 90% of these kids were already being sexually abused before they got there. We have to focus on sexual abuse at home. So you need to protect your kids. You need to protect them from the churches and from the schools and from the libraries and from the bus stops. And I want to give you tips on how to do that, because they're out there, but people aren't knowing where to find them, or they're not being well communicated. So I want to start giving you guys tips on how to protect your children from predators, from these offenders. Okay. So I'm going to be doing that here and popping them on YouTube. So you can go ahead and subscribe to this page or subscribe to my YouTube page, and I will keep them pretty and short for you. I promise. And just give you tips all the time and debunk these things and these conflicts that we're seeing in our culture. And I just want us to come together on this. So please let me know you're in, share, like, love, comment, anything you can do to help expose this crisis. Okay. I love you guys. Bye. Mwah.